Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today, we are playing Tyrion Cuthbert, and we have discovered a triple homicide. And in this triple homicide, it is the nobility that were murdered. Not just that, but the prime suspect is the prosecutor, Aria Steelwind. What's going on? Obviously, Eris is involved, but we've got to keep investigating. So let's go ahead, hop in, and see what we can find out. All right. So I think we already talked to him, and we needed to go to the next area. Let's go ahead and see if we can talk to Aria. She may not be free yet. I don't quite remember. Let's see. You arrive at the dungeon to speak with Steelwind, but you can't find her anywhere. Okay, so she's probably still busy. The Inquisition and the King's Guard must still be processing her. We should come back later. Alright, let's see. Where have we not tried? That's where we just were, or... No, that's not where we just were, but we have been there. Yeah, okay, that is where we just were. Alright. Garden. We could go back to the garden and see if there's anyone there. You arrive back at the cathedral's garden and come across that accursed statue again. It's staring into my soul. Then stop looking at it. As you move your attention away from the grotesque sculpture, you spot the Crown Prince. He's sitting on a bench, guarded by some knights from the King's Guard. His brow furrowed, and he seems to be deep in thought. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert, and Miss McCoy, too. What are you still doing here? We're trying to investigate what happened. We were looking around when we just happened to find you here. I see. Are you okay? Yes, I was just thinking how unfortunate this ordeal has been. I do hope Miss Steelwind is taking this well. So, yes, Aria is his soon-to-be wife. So, should be interesting. Right, she is his fiancée after all. He must be extremely worried about her. We're trying to find out exactly what happened. Or what exactly happened. Do you mind if we ask you some questions? I see. Well, I'll do whatever I can to help. Alright, what about the trial? You said that you two were investigating the murders. You weren't planning to defend Miss Steelwind, were you? If she would have me, she may be a competent prosecutor, but I have far more experience defending clients. Unfortunately, I think the situation is more complicated than that. What do you mean? Several house leaders died today. We can't release this information to the public. Not after the news of William Frega's death has already spread. In the course of 2 months, we've lost not one, but 3 members of the Pillar families. But the trial has to happen soon, or else the magical traces left will disappear. From what I've heard, we will be holding a trial, but it will be handled privately and internally. And I'm sorry to say that you won't be permitted to serve in such a trial. Right, a majority of the nobility hates me after all. You wouldn't be able to pull some strings, would you, Aster? I'm sorry. I'd like nothing more than to give you the opportunity to represent her. But I clearly have a personal attachment to this case. If I try to tip the trial in her favor, it will only harm her chances more. Right, I see what you mean. But even if we can't help her during the trial, we can still investigate the crimes on her behalf. Yes, I would really appreciate that. If new evidence is found, perhaps we can exonerate Miss Steelwind of the charges against her. Okay. After everything that's happened, I really need to know. So they won't tell us why all the nobles are here, so we really need to know this now. Why were so many nobles gathered in one place anyways? All 4 of the Pillar families were present. I understand if you don't want to tell me, but this information could be vital in figuring out what really happened. No, I see your point. The truth is, we all gathered to mourn the death of my father, King Olivier de Rivengard the Ninth.
Wait, the king is dead?
Yes, we wanted to avoid releasing this information to the public, so close to the death of William Frege.
Oh man, so 3 pillar families and the king? Oh my goodness.
My father has been ill for quite some time, so we were prepared for this. Or at least, I thought I was. I also lost my mother when I was quite young, but it's still a little hard to take in.
I'm sorry. You have my condolences.
Thank you. But if King Olivier is dead, that would make you. Yes, you currently stand before King Aster de Rivengard, ruler of our kingdom.
Oh, he's sad and scared. He's a little nervous about it. Considering everything that's happened, he seems less than thrilled about that. I mean, who could blame him, right? I suppose that explains why all of these nobles were gathered.
They came under the guise of paying their respects, but it's clear they all wanted to get closer to the new King of Rivengard. I think the Fregas were the only ones who genuinely came to give their condolences.
Poor guy. It's hard to make friends when you're in high places.
Speaking of the Fregas,
I think you need to know. I saw Beatrice before I was knocked out. He's not happy about that.
I think she may have been the one that killed Garrick Pierce.
Why would she be there? He's angry, but he's also scared? I'm sorry, I know she's your friend. But we already know she's not above committing murder.
I see. I suppose if you're saying it, it must be so. But what possible reason would she have to be involved in something like this?
I'm not sure yet, but I plan to find that out. Alright, what about Aria? By the way, where were you during the murders? I remember you left with Steelwind when Celeste and I arrived at the cathedral.
Yes. Steelwind and I left to speak with High Speaker Arceus in his quarters.
What was your meeting about?
It was actually about our wedding. With my father's death, Lord Steelwind wanted to finally make our union official.
Oh. I would congratulate you two, but considering the circumstances...
I understand, and I appreciate your words nonetheless. Anyways, how long did this meeting last? I believe we spoke with him until 1:40 p.m. But Von Sanctus died at 2:05 p.m.
That means she began her rampage less than half an hour after that meeting. Was there anything off about her behavior?
Now that you mention it, something about her demeanor changed. We were speaking of the wedding when she abruptly left. I asked her where she was going, but she ignored me.
That sounds similar to what happened when Celeste fought her. There was no way she was affected by Mage White. Alright, so we have the marriage meeting added to our notes. From 1:15 to 1:40, Aster de Rivengard and Aria Steelwind spoke with High Speaker Theon Arceus about their upcoming wedding. At 1:40 p.m., Steelwind abruptly left the meeting and didn't answer Aster when asked where she was going. Was she under compulsion, perhaps? Maybe she was forced to go?
I honestly didn't think much of it at the time. I'm quite used to her giving me the cold shoulder.
Oh, poor guy.
Right.
It's possible that the Steelwind the witnesses saw wasn't actually real. Could it have been an illusion?
Does that mean the Steelwind that attended the meeting was also a fake?
Anyways, what happened after your meeting with the High Speaker? Did you see Steelwind after that?
Actually, I found myself caught up in something else entirely. At 2 p.m., I went to pay my respects at my father's coffin. But apparently someone had set a magical trap there. What? It was a glyph of contingency.
Alright, so this is from the School of Evocation. The incantation is Contingent Gesture, the gesture of the contingent spell. 24 hours. So sometime within the last 24 hours, it was placed. When casting this spell, the caster must choose another spell they know. The caster casts that spell, but the contingent spell doesn't come into effect. Instead, it takes effect when a certain condition specified by the caster upon casting the spell is fulfilled. The contingent spell takes effect immediately when that condition is fulfilled. So it's basically like a trap. Like you can set a spell to be a trap.
I have heard of that spell. It's like a trap you can set, and you can infuse any spell into it. But it requires a second contingent spell to place that trap.
Which spell was it?
It was a force cage targeting me.
Was the murderer trying to attack Aster too?
No, I think probably trying to contain him in place so that he couldn't interfere with whatever was going on with Aria. That's what I think.
I don't think so. They would have used a more lethal spell if they wanted to, but from the sounds of it, Force Cage can't be dispelled. So Aster would have been trapped inside of it for that full hour.
We think that the murderer used this as a distraction. Because of that trap, the King's Guard consolidated most of their attention and forces on my location. As a result, there were fewer people guarding Von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce. And the ones that were there all fell comatose. They can't tell us what happened to them.
Alright, so at 2 p.m., Aster de Wyverngard went to pay his respects to his father's coffin. Unbeknownst to him, however, there was a glyph of contingency set to trap him inside a force cage. The trap triggered, and Aster was trapped in that magical cage for its duration. This caused the King's Guard to consolidate their forces at Aster's location. As a result, Lloyd Von Sanctus, Coraline Sybil, and Garrick Pierce were left with fewer guards defending them. Or with far fewer guards defending them. Okay? And yet, another inexplicable event is added to the list. Like, we're just adding layer of complexity upon layer of complexity upon layer of complexity here. Sounds right up Eris's alley. After everything you've learned, you highly doubt that Steelwind was affected by Mage Blight. It's not spur of the moment. It's far too complex. It's very much a laid out plan. So someone must be behind what happened. But who? Well, I think we know it's Eris. It's more like, but how and why? Anyways, it seems he's told you everything he knows. He probably didn't witness much after he was trapped by that force cage. You should move to somewhere else and follow your other leads. Alright. Let's see if there's anything else to examine here. What goes through the mind of such a tortured creature? What's with you in this statue? I don't know, but I can feel its emotions as if it were my own. It's an inanimate object, Tyrion. She's like, you're stupid.
Aerial Arcanum.
Alright, no magic here. I didn't think there would be. So, let's see. Been to the common room. We've been to the prayer room. We could try going back there, see if there was anything else there. Let's see. We've already done that. Alright, let's go back to the west balcony. Let's check that one out. Because the west balcony, I think, is where they pushed Sybil over so that she fell into the water. So let's see what's going on there. You arrive at the west-facing balcony of the cathedral. Supposedly, this is where the murderer threw Sybil's body into the lake. Oh, hello there. As you inspect the area, you catch the attention of an old man nearby. From his garb, he appears to be someone who works at the cathedral. I don't believe we've met before. What are you doing here? Sorry for the intrusion. I'm Tyrion Cuthbert, and this is my bodyguard, Celeste McCoy. We're investigating the murders on behalf of Prosecutor Steelwind. Tyrion Cuthbert, I have heard of you. He doesn't look nearly as criminal as I expected him to be. Judging from his thoughts, he probably hasn't heard very many good things about you. Much forgive my rudeness. I am Theon Arceus, High Speaker of the Church of Bahamut. Alright. So you're the one who saw Steelwind here during the murders. Do you mind if we ask you some questions? He scans you warily. I suppose there would be no harm in that. Alright, well, let's start with the basics. What did you see? We heard that you saw the prosecutor acting strangely here. Could you tell us more about what you saw? Did it look like she was having a psychotic episode? I wouldn't go that far, but she was certainly acting strangely. How did you come across her? Well, I was on my way to the prayer room. I always recite prayers from the draconic texts around that time. Wait, he was heading to the prayer room. When I saw her, I first thought she was just enjoying the view of the lake. I was about to greet her, but when I approached her, I saw that she was throwing something off the edge of the balcony. You must have seen her dumping Sybil's body. You're probably correct. I came to the same conclusion after they found that poor woman's body below us. Although... What is it? I only saw it for a second, so perhaps I'm wrong. But Lady Sybil was wearing much brighter colors this morning. Whatever Lady Steelwind threw into the lake, it looked much darker. What does that mean? I'm sorry, I can't really explain it. Perhaps I was just seeing things. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be after all. It could have just been a trick of the light. Interesting. So what was she throwing overboard? Theon Arceus was on his way to the prayer room to recite his prayers. On his way there, he spotted Aria Steelwind throwing something off the west balcony. He wasn't able to see what she threw, but after Coraline, Sybil's body was found in the Lake Galacron, he assumed the object must have been Sybil's body. However, he could have sworn he saw something darker, but he's still not sure. It's very interesting. Wait, if you saw Aria dumping Lady Sybil's body, she must have just murdered her. And that means you must have been heading to where we were at the time. Oh, were you praying there with Lord Pierce? Not exactly. What? That's not what the guards told me. Guards? Do you mean the ones standing watch outside the prayer room? Yes, they told me that Pierce was praying with some acquaintances of his. They said the same thing to Lady Steelwind as well. Wait, Steelwind was there too? Yes, she appeared to be waiting for something. But anyways, I didn't want to disturb them, so I went back to my quarters to pray there. Why would the guards say that? Were they in on it? Is this a big conspiracy? The High Speaker didn't see her fighting Celeste. Okay. She must have started her attack after he left. Well, why would she bother waiting? Either way, we can't exactly question those guards. Yeah, they're still comatose after the attack. Alright, so Theon Arceus was on his way to the prayer room to recite his prayers. On his way there, he spotted Aria Steelwind throwing something off the west balcony. Alright, so, yeah, something darker. But after witnessing this, he attempted to enter the prayer room, but was turned away by the knights guarding it. That's very interesting. I feel like there's a bunch of people under a compulsion here. Why didn't you hear anything? Actually, the High Speaker's quarters aren't that far away from the prayer room. How did you not hear anything? It must have been because of the magical wards in my room. Magical wards? Are they there for security reasons? Not exactly. I actually suffer from chronic insomnia. Even the smallest sound will wake me up at night. Years ago, I had some mages enchant the walls so sound couldn't travel through them. I can't hear anything from outside the room once I shut my door. That does sound awfully convenient, but you doubt he'd lie about something you could so easily verify. Either way, you should make a note of this. Alright, so we have a soundproof room. Supposedly, Theon Arceus suffers from chronic insomnia and can be woken by even the smallest sound. As such, the walls of the High Speaker's quarters are completely soundproof once he closes the door. This should explain why Arceus didn't hear the fight between Celeste McCoy and Aria Steelwind. Okay? Let's see what we got here. This balcony provides a perfect view of Lake Galifrond. A lot of people probably come here when the Grand Cathedral is open to the public. A nice view of the mountains up here. I can see a military stronghold in the distance. They must be able to see a lot from that high up. I bet so. What's this? There's some kind of debris here on the ground. You pick up one of the pieces and feel it in your hands. It appears to be some kind of gravel. Why would there be gravel there? I feel like there's going to be magic here.
Repario Arcanum!
I thought so. Okay. There are traces of transmutation on the pieces of this debris. That would imply that a spell specifically targeted or created whatever this came from. But I doubt someone created these bits of gravel. It must have broken off from something else. So we found some bits of Earth-like debris near the westward balcony. They have traces of transmutation magic on them. This also happens to be where Theon Arceus saw Aria Steelwind dumping Coraline Sybil's body, or rather what he assumed was her body. And there's nothing else, so we believe that you found everything you can here. Perhaps you should move somewhere else. Okay, so now, I think we can try going to, have we gone to the nave? Let's check the nave once before we try the interrogation room again. She attacked a member of the royal family and killed several nobles. What else is there to investigate? The laws are clear about what we must do. We should execute her immediately. Alaric, the situation is far too important to make such rash decisions. We need to approach this calmly and carefully. As you return to the nave, you spot the young prince in an argument with that nobleman you saw earlier. Now that you think of it, you still have no idea who he is. Oh, it's you two. Your Highness? And I don't think we've been introduced. What? I see you're still as insolvent as ever. You stand before Sir Remus Vigile, Archduke and Royal Visor to the Wyverngard throne. I believe he means advisor. Okay, Remus Vigile, a royal advisor. Alright. Archduke. You didn't even know the Kingdom of Wyverngard had a title like that. Why haven't you ever heard of him before? Why are you two still here anyways? I thought the cathedral was closed for the investigation. We're investigating what happened on behalf of Prosecutor Steelwind. I see. Anyways, I have much to attend to. I'll be taking my leave. Why are you afraid? You sense a tinge of anxiety. Is he avoiding you? Sure seems like it to me. Actually, since we have you here, we have some questions for you. The both of you. You should know your place, knave. Alright, what did Virgile see? Your Grace, were you here when the murders took place? Just what are you trying to insinuate? Please, Alaric, there's no need for that. To answer your question, I was speaking with Lady Frega's familiar. Tracker? No, it was the demon who calls himself Marnoth. What? Why would you want to speak with him? He was actually the one who sent for me. According to him, he had some information that was of great import to me. You didn't make a contract with him, did you? Of course not. What kind of desperate fool do you take me for? No, he gave me the information he had freely. Why Why would he do that? Humans are supposed to always be trying to trick humans into making deals with them. Unless he's serving as a distraction, possibly. Looking back, it must have been a distraction. Man, we're too good at this. What a fool I was. I knew he was playing with me. But I knew he couldn't tell lies, and the information he had was too important to ignore. If you don't mind me asking, what was the information about? Uh-oh, he's sad and nervous about it? I'm sorry, but I can't reveal what he told me. It could endanger people that I care about. But rest assured, I doubt it has anything to do with the massacre. Your Grace, we've only just met. I can't exactly take your word for it. I suppose that's fair. But believe me when I say that I plan to take this information to my grave. That's ominous, but he's clearly intent on keeping their conversation a secret. Anyways, several members of the King's Guard were watching us. They can verify my alibi. How long did this conversation last? I arrived to speak with him at 1:50 p.m., and I didn't leave until 3:10 p.m. Alright, so the demon Marnoth called Archduke Remus Virgile to meet with him at 1:50 p.m. He apparently had very important information that Virgile couldn't ignore. Virgile spoke with Marnoth until 3:10 p.m. The members of the King's Guard guarding the demon can verify this. So, he was accounted for during the time frame of the murders. But why would Marnoth go to the trouble of distracting him in the first place? Whoever orchestrated this also used Force Cage to trap Aster. Welcome in, Toad. Welcome in. How are you? Were they trying to distract the forces in the cathedral? I think they were. Or were they trying to keep certain people out of the crossfire? Either way, it's clear that Beatrice has a lot to answer for. Alright. Let's see. What about Steelwind spell? Doing well, settled in for a night of gaming? Yes, that sounds like a plan. Your Highness, we heard the prosecutor cast a spell on you when he saw the fire in the common room. Can you tell us more about what happened? I can't believe she attacked a member of the royal family. She was completely irresponsible with her magic. I understand your feelings about this, but we can't say for certain that she inflicted mage blight on herself. We don't even know if it was actually her. I saw her with my own eyes. Plenty of other people did too. Either way, where did this happen? It was on the path outside the common room. I saw smoke coming from the building, and I saw Steelwind walking away from it. So this must have been after she murdered Von Sanctus, okay? I have a feeling I already know the answer, but was she behaving erratically? No, she very deliberately cast a spell on me. Which once again implies that Mage Blight wasn't behind this. Do you know which spell she cast on you? I'm not sure. I've never been affected by a spell like that before. From the magical traces on him, we know that it was a transmutation spell. Transmutation spells manipulate and change physical matter. It's scary to think about what that might do to a human body. Are you sure he's okay? Lord Asclepius inspected him, and he doesn't appear to have any lasting injuries. We're hoping the spell's effects were only temporary. Can you describe what you felt while you were affected by it? That might help us identify which spell it was. Well, I was extremely dazed, and my ears were ringing. My vision was also partially blurred. It was as if my mind was in some sort of fog. Whenever I tried to speak, I couldn't even form words with my mouth. I could only make grunting sounds. I couldn't walk either, so I had to crawl on the floor. I'm sorry you had to go through that. That must have been traumatic. What kind of transmutation spell would do that to him? It had to be something that affected his senses. Alright, Steelwind's demeanor. You already told us that she wasn't acting erratically. But was there anything off about her demeanor? I only saw her for a moment, but she was definitely different than usual. She was completely emotionless. Yeah, that's exactly what she was when I fought her too. It was like she was an arcane construct. Her movements were almost robotic. Wait, are there any arcane constructs on the cathedral grounds? No, not for lack of trying on Lord Von Sanctus's part. The High Speaker and I have specifically forbidden the staff here from using them. It would be really convenient if all was done, if all of this was done using a construct. Okay. Makes me wonder what's going on. Like, could the gravel that we found, could that have been from a construct? Could that have been what Aria was seen throwing over the balcony? I mean, it would make sense, right? Although, you are a little tired of seeing them in your cases. Yeah, they're like in every single case, apparently. Anyways, was anyone else around when Steelwind cast that transmutation spell on you? No, she moved away quickly after she incapacitated me. And even if someone was around, I don't think I could have seen them anyways. Alright, so, I feel like everyone was definitely purposely being waylaid. I mean, we had the king was being forced, held in that force cube or whatever, and then we had the guy here was being distracted by the demon. And it's just like everybody is getting purposely distracted so that nobody is around. It's very, very, very suspicious. Alright. Alright. So, we have Alaric's testimony has been added to our journal, to our notes. Alaric de Wyverngard saw Aria Steelwind exiting the common room. He saw that a fire had started there. Now, when he asked Steelwind what was going on, she cast a transmutation spell on him. This spell blurred his vision and put him in a daze. His ears were ringing and he was unable to speak or walk properly. He could only move by crawling on the ground. Strangely, no one saw him while he was in this state. Blurred his vision and put him in a daze. His ears were ringing and he was unable to speak or walk properly. Did he lose his balance, I wonder? Like, maybe he couldn't stand because he had no balance. Commander White also said that he was surprised no one saw the prince until after that spell wore off. What happened to him? Did he turn into an animal, I wonder? Like, was he transformed into an animal, perhaps? He was dazed, he couldn't speak, he was crawling around to move. I mean, maybe he got transformed into an animal. That covers Alaric's account of what happened, and we even got the Archduke's statement, too. But there's still one last person we need to speak to. Is that Aria? Yep. Aria. She and Beatrice supposedly have no memories of what happened. If it were only Beatrice saying it, I'd probably doubt it. But if Steelwind also doesn't have any memories, it becomes a lot more credible. She definitely has the missing piece we need to put this together. Are you going to the dungeon to speak with her? I am. Wonderful. I'll be accompanying you. What? As the royal advisor, I have a vested interest in the investigation. While I trust Lucio to leave no stone unturned, I hear you have quite the talent for seeing what the crown cannot. Well, it's not as if you have the authority to stop him, but you still don't know him very well. I mean, he could be the culprit for all we know. You'll need to be wary of what you say in front of him. Alright, so nothing else to say. Let's just do a quick examination. We've already seen this. There's rows upon rows of seats for worshippers to sit at. At full capacity, this room could probably host thousands of people at a time. There's an altar at the end of the room. A religious figure would probably give a sermon here. And then lovely stained glass windows. A small ray of sunlight is shining through it. And I think that's all of the stuff in here. I don't think there's any magic. There is not. Alright, so to the dungeon we go. Let us head that way. You arrive at the dungeon and see the prosecutor sitting in the holding cell. She seems extremely stressed. It's as if she's trying to figure something out. Mr. Cuthbert and your grace. Steelwind gives a wary look to the Archduke. How are you doing? As best as I can, all things considered. What brings you here? We're trying to investigate everything that happened. I see. She's nervous about that? I was wondering if you could answer some of our questions. Steelwind, I know your situation is pretty grim right now, but you know you can trust me. You're not the person I'm worried about. At this moment, I don't even know if I can trust myself. What? What is that supposed to mean? What happened? We heard that you don't have any memories of what happened. Is that true? It is. No matter how much I try, I can't recall anything. What is the last thing you remember? I believe I was leaving my meeting with the High Speaker and His Majesty. After the meeting, I was planning to return to the nave to speak with my father. But I suddenly felt extremely nauseous. I thought some fresh air might help me feel better, so I went to the balcony. The one over Lake Galacrond? Yes, that one. The last thing I remember was losing consciousness as I looked at the lake. And did you cast any magic before this happened? No, I didn't. Are you sure you don't remember anything after that? I don't. All I remember is waking up to the sound of someone sobbing. It was Celeste. She was crying over your unconscious body, Mr. Cuthbert. Aw. So we have Steelwind's testimonies. Aria Steelwind has no memories of what happened after she left her meeting with Theon Arceus and Aster the Wyvernguard. After she left the meeting, she began heading to the nave to meet with her father. However, she suddenly felt nauseous and went to the westward balcony. She lost consciousness soon after. I feel like that's when a spell was getting cast over her. She later regained consciousness in the prayer room when she heard Celeste McCoy crying over your unconscious body. She did not cast any magic before she fell unconscious. Magic that can affect the mind? I feel like we've completely ruled out mage fight, so I doubt that's why you can't remember anything. Are there any spells that can specifically modify or destroy people's memories? It would certainly explain a lot of this. No, arcane spells can only affect the physical world. But throughout history, mages have attempted to develop spells that can affect the mind. There's no recorded history of any of them succeeding. But you're assuming that arcane spells are the only type of magic that exists. What? Oh, I think you've observed it already. There are magical creatures in this world that don't use arcane magic. Isn't that right, Mr. Cuthbert? What? Does he know about the Eye of Horus? I'm not sure what you're trying to imply. Don't take me for a fool. Several of my associates attended Freyga's trial, and they all heard what that demon referred to you as. Heavensborn. If I learned that Lumina had anything to do with this... Your Grace, I'm not an agent of the Theocracy. And even if what you're saying is true, I wasn't the one who manipulated Steelwind's memories. But I suppose you raise a good point. If something affected Steelwind's memories, it wasn't necessarily an arcane spell. In fact, it couldn't have been an arcane spell. It was definitely something else. You're probably right. Which proves that I'm responsible for the murders. What? That's like not what we were saying at all. Aria did this. You just said you don't have any memories of what happened. Why are you so convinced that you're responsible for this? I told the Inquisition already I saw Beatrice before I passed out. She's clearly involved in this somehow. There's more to this than you realize, Mr. Cuthbert. For the past few months, the Inquisition and I have been investigating a string of seemingly unrelated murders. During each of those cases, we were able to apprehend the perpetrator without issue. But there was always something off about them during questioning. The murders were always abnormally gruesome and passionate, and each of the perpetrators said the same thing. They all said they had no choice. No choice. Cases like this have been occurring throughout Wivengard, and very little connects the perpetrators to each other. All except one thing. Each of them acted as if someone had controlled them against their will. They were probably just desperate. Most murderers try to make excuses after they're caught. And they could even just be in complete denial. Orm said the same thing, but these cases were far too similar for me to ignore. I wondered if they were telling the truth. Perhaps each of these murders was committed by an unknown party. I didn't have any concrete evidence, but I knew I was getting closer to something. The Purple Conspiracy. Steelwind, I don't mean to be rude, but this sounds completely insane. You don't even have any physical evidence to prove these murders are connected. There's one piece of evidence, but it's hardly concrete. But it does tie each of these cases together. She takes out a small parchment from her pocket and shows it to you. It's a purple symbol. Several of the people we arrested had an item with this symbol on it. None of them can remember where it came from, or even what it was. But they all somehow knew that it was called the Purple Mark. But there has to be an explanation for this. It could just be some esoteric superstition that we don't know about. If that's true, then ask yourself one thing. Where did I get this parchment from? You don't mean... I found it in my pocket after I was properly confined. Whoever's been chasing me must have left it there to taunt me. For all I know, they could have controlled my body and forced me to draw this symbol myself. Either way, this all but proves the massacre at the cathedral is related to it. So the purple mark is some sort of strange symbol. Aria Steelwind calls it the purple mark. She thinks it has some relation to her mind control conspiracy. Supposedly, this mark has been found at the scenes of several gruesome murders throughout Wivengard. Aria felt she was getting close to the truth. When she regained consciousness after the massacre, she found a paper with the symbol in her pocket. It looks like a bunch of moons, like crescent moons all combined together. Or claws, perhaps? I don't know. Aria's fate. I don't want to dismiss what you said, but this definitely won't hold up in court. Nor should it. If my mind has been compromised, I can't take the risk of leaving this dungeon. Otherwise, I could end up harming more people. Wait, are you planning to spend the rest of your life in prison? If that is what is necessary to keep everyone safe. Oh, poor Aria. What about Aster? Were you two supposed to be married soon? He's the king now, and you can't rule Wivengard alongside him from a holding cell. You are correct, but he's always been a remarkable person. You should have no problem finding another suitress. Oh, she's very sad about that. You feel an overwhelming sadness emanating from her as she says that. Poor Aria. Aria. She's trying to be selfless and sacrifice herself. No. What? You're not going to sacrifice everything for someone else's actions. This is where Tyrion gets serious, guys. Mr. Cuthbert, I am not going to risk more lives. If I were to hurt His Majesty, I would never be able to forgive myself. Please don't ask that of me. Alright, saving Steelwind's future. Oh, we gotta build up a profile for her, right? Let's see. What is there anything we can add? Soundproof room is. Oh, I don't know that we have enough evidence for her, or do we? What do you think of this? Okay, so can we get any more information about the stuff? Will she say anything else? What do you think about Coraline Sybil? I can't believe we've lost so many house leaders in the course of a few months. Now my father is the only head of the four pillars that still lives. Lord Steelwind is her father, so it would probably be best not to point out how suspicious that is. Alright, what about Theon Arceus? Nothing. We're not building any information. What about this debris? Is there anything else we can ask her about? What about Aster? I'm relieved His Majesty was unharmed during the massacre. Whoever orchestrated this trapped him in a force cage. They must have used him as a distraction while they went after their true targets. As callous as it is, I'm glad he wasn't their real target. I don't know what I would do if anything happened to him. Alright, I guess we're gonna try the argument. Steelwind is gonna throw away everything she cares about for the greater good. Even if she was the one who did all this, she's not the one who's responsible. You can't let her resign herself to a fate like this. Let's start the argument. Alright. Steelwind, are you seriously going to throw away your life away? If it were necessary, I would give my life for this kingdom. If someone controlled my actions today, they can and will do so again. A villain controlled my mind. As long as that possibility exists, I can't trust myself. Alright, so Steelwind acts for the greater good of the kingdom, regardless of the amount of suffering she must endure in doing so. She's deeply in love with Aster and will do anything to protect him. However, she's still a rational person and will be receptive to logical arguments. Alright, that's not the issue here. If someone else is responsible for what happened, then we need to find out who they are. They're still out there. But that's assuming this person can continue to do so. We don't know how this mind control works. We can't just drop this without finding out what really happened. Do you even understand what you're saying? You will lose everything if you just let this happen. That's not going to work. I think doubt might be the best way, right? Well, that's assuming this person can continue to do so. You said so yourself. You haven't found any evidence to prove your theory. We don't know how this mind control works. And we don't have enough information. We can't just drop this without finding out what really happened. I suppose you're right. But I doubt there was any goal to this. The person responsible was just a sadistic killer. I disagree with that. I've been investigating these murders for months, and I've never been able to find any personal clues as to who the perpetrator is. There's no way to connect them to this. Whoever did this was a sadistic individual who wanted to cause as much suffering as possible. Celeste. During the afternoon of the murder, Celeste McCoy heard a suspicious sound and investigated the hallway leading to the prayer room. There she saw Aria Steelwind fighting the guards there. Aria didn't respond to Celeste's questions and attacked her as well. The two fought to a standstill. Aria pushed past her. When Celeste arrived at the prayer room, she found Tyrion and Aria unconscious, and Pierce was already dead. She didn't see Beatrice Sprague at any part during the altercation. Alright. She didn't like that one. The Inquisition discovered something was wrong when Alaric de Wyvernguard reported that a fire had broken out in the common room. He also told them that Aria Steelwind had cast a spell on him earlier that severely debilitated his senses. When the Inquisition arrived at the scene, they spotted the unconscious guards outside the prayer room. They did not see Celeste McCoy and Aria Steelwind. Wait. The Inquisition discovered something was wrong when Alaric de Wyvernguard reported that a fire had broken out in the common room. He also told them that Aria Steelwind had cast a spell on him. Didn't he say he couldn't talk? Alaric de Wyvernguard saw Aria Steelwind exiting the common room. He saw that a fire had started there. But when he asked Steelwind what was going on, she cast a transmutation spell on him. The spell blurred his vision and put him in a daze. His ears were ringing, and he was unable to speak or walk properly. He could only move by crawling on the ground. Strangely, no one saw him while he was in this state. Well, that was an action she committed on him that wasn't killing him. Taking an outbreak. Did we present this? Did I miss this one? That's not true, Steelwind. Whoever did this had very specific targets in mind. That's right, because you didn't kill Alaric. Both Prince Alaric and the High Speaker saw you when the murders were being committed. Not to mention, they set a trap for Aster. What? Let's assume that someone was controlling you. They wouldn't have left Alaric, Arceus, or Aster alive if they were trying to kill as many people as possible. I suppose you have a point there, but even so, that hardly narrows things down. If someone was controlling me, they would need to enter the cathedral to use me. The perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. Perhaps you're right, and the perpetrator only wanted to murder the 3 victims. There's plenty of people who might have wanted to see those 3 dead. Alright, so the perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. Do we have a spell for mind control? Let's see. Illusory Disguise, Conjure Light, Force Cage, Mage Blade, Glyph of Contingency, Foresight. I don't think any of these spells help. Strike True. Yeah, none of these help. And also none of these are mind control spells either. So I don't know that any of those are going to help. What else? Well, let's see. So the argument we're trying to disprove, the perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. But they did because they had to be there to trap Alaric, right? Or Aster with this. And they were using it with Force Cage, right? Force Cage. Oh, wait, let me read this. When casting this spell, the caster must choose another spell they know. The caster casts that spell, but the contingent spell doesn't come into effect. Instead, it takes effect when a certain condition specified by the caster upon casting the spell is fulfilled. The contingent spell takes effect immediately when that condition is fulfilled. So, points index finger, you have to point the index finger at the target. So they had to be there to do that, right? That, do we present that one or that one? I mean, this one, the gesture of the contingent spell. Okay, which would be Force Cage. They have to point the finger at the target, right? And there's one thing you're overlooking. Before the murder started, someone trapped Aster within a Force Cage using Glyph of Contingency. They didn't harm him. It was probably just a distraction. Even so, this gives us 2 very important clues. The first is that whoever did this is capable of casting those 2 spells. This means that the perpetrator was a mage. And that's true. But the second clue is the most important one. Whoever set the trap for Aster, they did so within 24 hours of it triggering. This means that the perpetrator must have been someone who attended the funeral. So it was one of them. That narrows down our list of suspects substantially. There's a chance we can identify who did this. And if they really did control your actions, we can find a way to prevent them from doing so again. Steelwind, you need to fight this. I can't. What? Why not? Fighting this will put people in danger. If I pursue an individual like this, they might retaliate even more than they already have. They wanted to remove me from my position. How will they react if I try to resist? They might hurt even more people to send a message. It's far too dangerous. Alright, so we can't back down in the face of injustice. If we let the perpetrator get away with this, we're letting them know their actions will go unanswered. I doubt someone like that would go that far. They might decide to lay low and wait for things to die down. I don't think it's that one. Whoever did this had a far bigger goal than you, and you have no guarantee they'll stop there. Who will they target next? Your father? The king? Let's look at her psychological profile. She's deeply in love with Aster and will do anything to protect him. Maybe? We can't back down in the face of injustice. I think it might actually be this one, right? Because she wants to protect Aster. Alright. Whoever did this had a far bigger goal than you, and you have no guarantee that they'll stop here. 3 nobles died today, and 2 of them were near the top of the political hierarchy. What if they decide to go after more victims? Who will they target next? Your father? The king? Which is Aster now. She's angry about that. We need to catch them before they can do more harm. I know you're frightened about what might happen to the people close to you, but we can't let someone that dangerous get away with this. When you put it that way, I suppose I have no other choice, do I? Alright, we finally did it after 3 tries. Alright. I never realized it before, Mr. Cuthbert. What? You really have a bad habit of butting your nose into other people's business, don't you? Yeah, I suppose I do. But you're right. We can't let this go. I'll find a way to dispute this. Somehow. Thank you, Mr. Cuthbert. I think we've known each other long enough. You don't need to be so formal. You successfully argued against Aria Steelwind. Perhaps I misjudged you. Alright. So now let's see what she says. I know I agreed to fight this, but... What is it? You're the most qualified attorney in the nobility. You'll definitely be able to make a case for yourself. As you probably know, House Sybil controls the legislative and judicial branches of our kingdom. And they've nominated my father as the prosecutor for my trial. What? No one believes my theory of mind control. Everyone believes that I overspent my magic and gave myself mage blight. As a result, they blame House Steelwind for Coraline Sybil's death. Now the only way for him to redeem House Steelwind is to convict me and sentence me to death. But he's your father. There's no way he would... This isn't the first time something like this has happened. When I was a child, my mother accidentally overused her magic and induced mage blight within herself. In her resulting psychotic episode, she massacred an entire village of commoners. No. House Steelwind almost lost everything after that. To redeem himself, my father personally oversaw my mother's trial and her execution. My father values his duty to Wivengard over everything else. Nothing matters more to him than that. Not even his family. I want to have confidence in myself, but I don't know if I can face him like this. Mr. Cuthbert, what is your stake in all of this? What? You hate the nobility, don't you? So why are you so intent on helping Miss Steelwind? Because she's innocent. I know she is. She would never be irresponsible enough to give herself mage blight. Mr. Cuthbert, it doesn't matter if she's a noble or a commoner. She's being oppressed by the system, and she deserves a fair trial. Well said. What? I, Remus Vigile, hereby grant you the privilege to serve as Miss Steelwind's counsel. Wait, really? I will be acting as judge and arbiter of Miss Steelwind's trial. It is within my right to grant such permissions. Thank you. Well, why would you? Do you think I've made a mistake? No, of course not. I'll serve as Steelwind's attorney, if she'll have me. Of course. There's no one else I would trust more with this. And please, you've done a lot for me already. You don't have to be so formal. Please call me by my first name. Celeste is already taken to doing that. But since you'll be defending me, you'll probably need this. Alright, so now we have her spell compendium. So it contains the formulas for the following spells: Mend Wounds, Firebolt, Shape Liquid, Dispel Magic, Steelwind Strike, Detect Magic, Polymorph. I bet that's what, either Polymorph or Hold Creature, I bet is what she did. Alright, so Firebolt. Caster launches fiery projectile that's hot enough to inflict third-degree burns. The projectile can travel 120 feet without collision before its magic dissipates. Once it collides with something, it will set the object ablaze if it's flammable. The caster completely restricts the movement of the target. While concentrating on this spell, the target will be unable to move any part of their body. Even subtle movements, such as the gestures required to cast certain spells, are impossible. As a result, the target will also be unable to move their mouth to speak. Okay, so I don't think that's not what happened to Alaric, because he could move, but he couldn't talk. Steelwind Strike. The caster strikes targets of their choice within 40 feet radius with a slashing force. Each slash has the might and power of a mage blade and can cut through thick metal armor. It's the ultimate spell of House Steelwind, and its spell formula is a closely guarded secret. Alright, Polymorph. The caster transforms a target within 30 feet of them into an animal. The animal can be any creature that will fit within a 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot cube. For the duration, the target's senses and intellect will also be changed to match that of the animal they are transformed into. I think that's probably what happened to him. Dispel Magic. Choose any magical effect within 120 feet. The spell that is creating the effect immediately ends unless the targeted spell is immune to being dispelled. However, this only ends the spell's effects. It does not undo the effects of the spell. For example, dispelling a shape liquid on an affected liquid will only prevent the caster from further manipulating the liquid. It will not unfreeze the liquid or change its shape back to normal. Then it's settled. We will hold the trial at my home, the city of Leyden. Leyden? I've never heard of that place. Speak with Lucio. He knows the location well. Oh boy. Before you can ask any more questions, the Archduke leaves without a word. He really has a bad habit of just walking away from conversations. But I guess we should consider ourselves lucky. Even if it's unorthodox, this situation will let us approach this like any other trial. You had no idea what you were in for before you agreed to this, or when you agreed to this. And what proceeded next would be unlike any trial you've ever been in. But even so, you've persevered as you've always done in the name of justice, regardless of what you had to sacrifice to do so. All right. That was quite the investigation. So next time, I think we will be getting into the trial itself at the ancient city of Leyden. So this should be interesting. So my current theories, I still think Aris did it. I'm 100% sure that Aria was somehow mind controlled, or maybe she was just an illusion, a copy. I don't know. Whatever it is, she was not responsible for her own actions somehow. The exact specifics, I think, we'll figure out. It's going to be interesting. I think Alaric was polymorphed into some kind of small animal, which is why nobody saw him. I didn't look at the schools of magic on it, but I bet it's going to say that was transmutation or whatever it was he had on him. So, yeah, this should be interesting. We will explore that in the next episode. So, if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we are on Twitch at twitch.tv/Liar27. I have my schedule posted in the About section. And if you want to see which games I'll be playing, I post them each day on twitter.com/Liar27. And I really hope that you will join me in the next one. Until then, guys, I will see you later. Bye.